9 out of 10 people want more climate action, but hardly anyone knows their carbon footprint. In this video, we'll have a look at 3 different lives in the UK. A typical person, the top 1%, the ultra-high emitter, and a low-carbon household, to see how their emissions compare. This video isn't about blame, it's about understanding the numbers, so we can see what lifestyle changes really make a difference. And the good news is, there are a couple of low-hanging fruit, easy and free changes you can make to reduce your emissions by 10 or even 20%. First, meet Sarah. She lives alone with her cat Whiskers in a small flat in London. She has typical UK consumption, mostly commutes by underground, but also occasionally drives her petrol car. And she flies twice a year for the holidays. So let's have a look at Sarah's carbon footprint. Her low-meat diet results in 2.3 tons of CO2 per year, and driving adds another 0.7 tons. Commuting by public transport is very efficient when it comes to CO2, and that only adds 0.1 tons per year. Now flights, that's what can quickly add up, because even a single short-haul economy flight can add as much emissions, 0.5 tons, as a full year of driving her car. And then the long-haul return economy flight adds another 1.3 tons. Sarah's consumption is a typical UK consumption and adds 2.4 tons. And her electricity plus heating adds another 0.8 tons. With Whiskers adding final 0.3 tons to Sarah's annual emissions. So as we can see, Sarah's total carbon footprint is 8.4 tons of CO2 per year, mostly driven by her diet, flights, and just general consumption. Now, the biggest opportunity for Sarah to cut her emissions is the flights, because they can quickly add significant amounts of CO2, but also when it comes time to replacing Sarah's car, if she could replace her petrol car with an electric car, that would cut her emissions by 0.5 ton per year. Next, let's jump to Richard. He's the UK's and world's top 1% emitter. Large home, high consumption, and lots of business class flights. Question is, will his electric vehicle and solar panels offset the emissions? So we can see that his high meat consumption, that's 3.3 tons of CO2 per year. He drives an electric vehicle and drives 5,000 miles. That's quite efficient, 0.3 tons per year. Commuting, by national rail, again, public transport, very efficient when it comes to CO2, so that's 0.3 tons. And then flights, that's what drives the vast majority of Richard's emissions. He travels a lot by plane. He had 6 short-haul business class flights, and then he also had 6 long-haul business class flights in a year. So flights alone at 26.5 tons, 3 times as much as total Sarah's emissions. High consumption adds another 4.3 tons. And the large house with a heat pump and solar panels actually results in negative emissions. The energy generated by the solar panels offset the emissions from electricity and heating. So if we sum up, we can see that Richard's total emissions are 34 tons of CO2 per year. The vast majority of that comes from flying, and that's the key opportunity for Richard to cut his emissions. It's to cut down on those flights. As we can see, he's in the top 1% of UK population and top 2% of the world emitters. Finally, let's meet Tom and Emma, our low-carbon minimalist couple, and their Labrador Poppy. They've recently insulated their house and added a heat pump with solar panels. They share a small electric vehicle, and they rarely fly. So let's have a look at Emma's emissions. Emma is a vegetarian, so her diet only adds 2 tons per year. Her driving 2,500 miles in an electric vehicle, that only adds 0.2 tons of CO2 per year. Emma doesn't currently commute, and her recent flight added 0.5 ton of CO2. Emma doesn't buy a lot of new gadgets or clothes, so her other consumption is low and adds 1.4 tons per year. As I've mentioned, they've recently made some improvements to their house. And even though it's a large house, because it's heated by a heat pump and they've installed solar panels, that basically makes their house carbon neutral. They generate enough electricity to provide the electricity that they need and also provide their heating. Finally, Poppy, a Labrador. It's quite a large dog, and Poppy's emissions add up to 2.5 tons per year. But before summing it all up, let's adjust Poppy's emission between the two of them, between Tom and Emma. So that adds 1.3 tons of CO2 per year to Emma's total emissions. So in total, we can see that Emma's emissions are 5.3 tons per year, which puts her roughly half the average emissions in the UK, which is great. Majority of that comes from the diet, other consumption, and Poppy's emissions. And now, if you would like to find out your carbon footprint, you can use my free calculator on Fernall.com. It's free to use, you don't even need to provide an email, and it only takes 1 minute to complete. Let me know in the comments below if your footprint was higher or lower than you expected. And did anything surprise you? For me, it was the flights. I always knew that flights result in quite a lot of emissions, but it's surprising how quickly they can add up. And finally, as always, a reminder that 89% of people, and that's most of your family, friends, co-workers, want more climate action. So start that conversation with them. Share this video and the information that you learned, because the more people understand the math, the faster we can fix it together. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, join the conversation below, and next time we'll have a look at the single easiest change you can make to reduce your carbon footprint by up to 10% and help wildlife at the same time. See you next time. Supervisor number 2 joined the video today. Spooky. Yeah, Spooky. Helping record climate videos.